Hello, it's Reija and welcome to my May comics reading wrap-up. I read quite a bit of comics this month and I'm trying to keep this short because I am melting. First, let's start with Kentaro Miura's Berserk Volume 10. I finally continued on my Berserk reread and I am in those volumes which many of you, if you have read Berserk, will know are the most awful content-wise. And like many shitty things are going to happen to the characters and I'm dreading it. And this is like the volume that starts us on that rabbit hole. And I have to say that I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. The art is good as always because, you know, Kentaro Miura, like, his art is like god level. And I also felt that there was a lot of like beautiful emotional scenes between Casca and Guts and also Griffith and Guts. And I felt that Casca got to shine in this volume, like she got to fight and like be an action heroine, and I really loved that. And all in all, this volume was just a real good action-packed volume with also like some foreshadowing and like really creepy horror-y stuff. But man, I am not excited about the next 2 or 3 volumes because I know they are gonna emotionally mess me up. But yeah, I gave Berserk Volume 10 4 stars. Next I read volumes 3 to 6 of Delicious in Dungeon by Ryoko Kui, and I read these for Borrow-a-thon. And I am continuing to love this series. It is very action-packed, it has a lot of humor, and it's actually going in really interesting and dark places. Like Ryoko Kui is introducing some really interesting world-building details. And like this series is like you come in for a cooking manga, a cooking comedy manga, and you are left with an epic dark fantasy. And I'm here like, I didn't know I needed this, but now I know that I needed this. It's been really fun. I'm really interested to know where the story is going because the whole premise of the story was that they're going to go and save Laios' sister and defeat the dragon. And suddenly, you know, it's 6 volumes in and, you know, the story is changing and it's evolving and it's been really good. I gave these volumes like 3 and 4 stars, like all the others I gave 4 stars. Volume 5 I gave 3 stars because it wasn't as good, it wasn't as action-packed. But yeah, I just really like this series, it's really good. And I stand by my Gryffindor recommendations video because the more I read of this series, the more I like it. And yeah, I don't have much else to say about it because I'm starting to be so deep in the series that talking about the plot details and such is giving away huge spoilers. So let's just say that it is going in interesting directions and I am here for the ride. Next up I read Kiss Number 8 by Colleen F. Venable and Ellen T. Crenshaw, and I gave this 3.5 stars. It was okay. It is basically a coming out story of this girl who is living in a very religious community, and she's living in this suburb where everyone knows each other and they are all in the same church group, and she's going to a Catholic school, so her experience coming out is very fraught with tensions in her community and family. And I thought the art was pretty okay, I thought the story was okay. I felt that it was a little bit shallower in places, like it could have dealt a bit more deeply with certain elements of the story. For example, the toxic relationship that this character has are not given any sort of like lasting resolutions. There is this transgender character that's basically used as a prop in the story. I would have wished that that character would have gotten a little bit more agency and gotten to tell their own story. There was also like this sort of atmosphere in the book where I felt that this was just scratching the surface. Like I felt that all of these characters had a lot more going on than the narrative was actually exploring, and that frustrated me because I was like, okay, I see the potential, I see where this could go, and it just didn't deliver. I'm not sure if I would recommend this necessarily. Like, if you are looking for a coming out story, I think this is serviceable, but I would also approach it with a grain of salt, because this is very like a 101 conversation. This is basically like, I would say that dip your toes in with this one and move on to bigger and better books. I would not recommend this just as is. It just isn't. It just doesn't deal with the issues as deeply as it clearly wants to. So 3.5 stars. And then the very last comic book that I read in the month of May was Watersnakes by Tony Sandoval. And oh my god! This was so confusing and kind of bad. The art style is actually very cool. The art style is super interesting and really, I think, innovative and kind of creepy, and it brings to mind, like, I feel like some of Neil Gaiman's work could be illustrated by this artist, because the art style was actually really good. But the story, oh man, you don't get to know much of anything about these characters. Like, who is this main character? She is a girl who wanders around sometimes. What are her hobbies? I don't know. She seems to be obsessed with teeth. Her father is a dentist. And she meets another girl who is a ghost. But what does this other girl, what is she interested in? We don't know. Like, these characters are so paper thin. From start to finish, you don't get to know anything about them. Like, what are their likes, their dislikes, their dreams for the future? We don't know. Basically, they are there to revolve around, like, plot points and major action scenes. The reason the main character, the other main character, is a ghost is because when she was young, she ate a squid who was a prince, and then the prince sort of poisoned her and she became a ghost, but not really, because she is alive. No one else just can see her except the main character. Like, this is super weird. And the main character has this sexual tension with this ghost girl, except that when they free the prince and they realize the prince was living inside her, inside the ghost girl, she says that, oh, I guess I was interested in you because there was a man living inside you. And at that point I was like, okay, that's sort of gross, actually. Like, really? That's the reason? Like, I can't say I like this. Like, story-wise, this is rubbish, but it's very well drawn. And it looks cool, and there are some really cool, like, scenes, but you know, who are the villains even? They just want to kill the prince. Why? Who are they? Where do they come from? Nobody knows. The story doesn't tell us. Like, this whole story is complete rubbish. But I gave this 2 stars because the art is amazing. So, I can't recommend it because the story isn't good. Like, seriously. At all. But the art is great. So, I would say that, if you happen to come across this in a library, do browse it because it looks really good, but like reading it is a waste of time, in my opinion. Obviously, these are my opinions. Tell me in the comments if you have read this and if you liked it. I would be very interested to know what did you think of it and why did you like it, because I'm just baffled by this. And there you have it. Those were all the comic books that I read in the month of May. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye bye!